And we are back with BRX Pro Tips. Payton and Lee Kanter here with you. Lee, let's talk a little bit about fully leveraging your appearance on the Business Radio X network, or really on virtually any show for that matter. Let's talk about how to get the most out of being a guest.
It's important when you're a guest on our podcast or on any podcast that you kind of think about what you're trying to get out of this at the end. Think about different little chunks of content you're trying to capture so that you can use this and repurpose it later on. So I would kind of be mindful of stories about tips and tricks and tactics that I was going to list or I was going to share, so I can then go back into my podcast and then carve them out and use them as standalone pieces of content. So just be mindful of that. So then once you get this good, rich content that's repurposable, now you can do lots of things with it. Some of the things you can do is use the audio as a soundtrack for video. You can then take photos of you in the studio. You can take B-roll photos of you doing some whatever you do. You can take slides, logos, words that you mentioned, and then use those as graphics, and then use your audio file as the soundtrack for that. So you can create video for it. You can transcribe all the content and then use the stuff you said as a blog post, a tweet, and or even foundation for an article. You can, what are some of the other ways?
Well, I just want to be real clear about this. This is not your granddaddy's media, right? You have our express permission to utilize this material in any way you see fit to educate your market and promote your work. And so once you have this content in audio form, there's just so much that you can do with it. But some of the simpler things that sometimes I think get forgotten, we have the neatest little player in that you can go to the player and hit a button and actually go get embed code for that kind of sexy player that we have on all our posts. Mm-hmm. And you can post that player on your website. And you're welcome to do any and all of this that Lee's talking about on your own, or we're happy to have the pros in our shop do it for you. You can go to justmysegment.com and we'll do it. But the key, I mean, your own creativity is the limit for this stuff. There's just so much you can do. You mentioned transcripts earlier. You know, you get a transcript from a 20-minute conversation. You're talking about 6 months of material if you parse it out properly.
Right, and that doesn't even count like kind of the photos that are taken in here. How many people use their photo with headphones in front of a microphone or Business Radio X microphone as their LinkedIn profile picture?
Yeah.
You know, it's just really good social media food. You can use this stuff time and time again, because especially if you pre-planned and thought of topics and stories and tips that you were going to share, that's evergreen material that you can use time and time again. Just because your interview happened today, in 3 months, you can kind of put it back out there again.
So this might sound like I'm bragging a little bit. Maybe I am. But one of the primary uses that I come across a great deal is that guests will use their interview with us to get themselves booked on other platforms, because, you know, we're pretty good at framing things up and putting them in the best light. But there's just so much that you can do. And if you run out of ideas for it, give us a call and we'll share with you what our guest and our host and our sponsors and studio partners are doing.